Live from the palace, the king, his family, and the new princesses are home. The king will address his subjects tonight, and we are all waiting with bated breath to hear his thoughts on the shooting. Are we going to war? Will the prince be sent to a new type of battle? Stay tuned here for the exclusive broadcast. I'm Greg Rockefeller.
I'm Beth Rockefeller.
And I'm Mia Rockefeller, and this is Reading with the Rockefellers, a family book club podcast.
Today we are discussing Red Queen by Victoria Aveyard.
So grab a copy and join us on this literary journey.
By the time the boat docks at the western bank and we're back on land, night has fallen. At home, this meant shutting down the power and going to sleep, but not in Archeon. If anything, the city seems to brighten while the rest of the world goes dark. Fireworks crackle overhead, raining light down on the bridge, and atop Whitefire, a red and black flag raises. The king is back on his throne.
Welcome to Reading with the Rockefellers. This is episode 13, Red Queen, chapter 23.
So,
There's no way around it. This chapter's a bummer.
It is.
don't say that.
No, it's a bummer.
It's a
Well,
bummer.
I know it's a bummer, but I've been living in denial for the past week.
I know, but we can't anymore because now we have microphones in front of our faces and we have to confront the reality that is this chapter.
Yeah.
Of mega bummer after mega bummer.
Yeah,
After mega bummer.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
it is. It's pretty.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, let's
Strangely
jump
enough,
right in.
Not the biggest bummer chapter you're going to read.
Mm-mm.
That
Oh
one
no,
still
they
hasn't
only
happened.
get worse from here.
Not even in the first book.
Foreshadowing.
We're gonna call that foreshadowing?
I mean, kind of, I guess, a little.
Fair.
So now we're docking in Archeon,
Mm-hmm.
and Maven is kind of showing around Mare, like pointing out his favorite places and, kind of trying to make her feel at home.
She's
Mhm.
digging it.
Yeah, she's kind of into it. She's like, this is not what I'm used to, but that's cool. I can learn about all of this. And very quickly he drops on her that Archeon is basically segregated.
Mm-hmm.
So even amongst the Silvers, there's still divisions.
Yep.
There's a classist system inside a racist system. So.
Right. Yeah, there's the noble blood, then there's those that aren't noble and don't have what you would
Mm-hmm.
call the powerful abilities. They could be very wealthy, but they're still common silvers because they don't have the status
Common
or
silvers.
the ability. It's
Yeah.
a weird concept.
Even if you're richer than the nobility or one of those houses, you're still common.
Because it's about power.
Right, because it's
Yeah.
about power, because you don't have any status or you don't
Right.
have a big, strong ability.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, it's so crazy to Mare to be like,
Yeah.
but you guys have everything.
Yeah.
And yet you're still infighting.
I have a relationship with the phrase common silvers, the same relationship that I do with vegan desserts. Can read the words, but I don't quite understand it.
Or gluten-free pasta.
Yes.
Yes.
But the funniest thing about this is the abilities. There are less powerful abilities. I want to know what some of the less powerful abilities are. Like, how mundane do their abilities get that they're not really abilities? Like, I have the power to see the future, but only the future of what I'm going to eat tomorrow for dinner.
Oh.
Does that do you any good, really?
I don't know. Some of it's not necessarily like it's a different ability, but like they have a similar ability that like a high house might have. It's just not as powerful. Does that make any sense?
No, it does. It does.
Like them as a person or as a family just isn't as powerful, even though they may have the same ability. Did that sentence make sense?
No. Because you would think that you would be able to practice your ability no matter what. But that brings up an interesting point that I was thinking of while I was reading that I want to get to before we round out, which I mean, we'll kind of touch on before the end of the episode, but I want to talk possibilities at the end. There's some questions I have. So.
Okay.
But before we get there, we got to go through all this downer crap.
Yep. Let's get depressing.
Yeah, let's start with Broody Cal. Let's talk about Broody Cal.
What's up with Cal?
Well, first of all, he's mad that he's not going to go fight.
I can't. Daddy won't let me kill people.
Yeah. Shadow Legion has gone to Archeon ahead of him, and they're kind of the protectors of the city now since, everything's popping off and they want more protection. So the Shadow Legion is there, but Tiberius won't let him go to the front with all this chaos. He's disbanded his command. So he's all broody about that. Mm-hmm. He's also broody about speeches.
Yeah, he doesn't like
speeches.
He doesn't think they're worth it. Doesn't think they're worth the time. So he's all broody.
Yeah, he doesn't want to be there at all. Evangeline also not looking like she's enjoying herself.
Nope. Well, is Evangeline ever really enjoying herself? Unless she's threatening Mare.
Probably not. But even she's kind of visibly
Yeah.
rattled by this. You know, nobody is comfortable with what's about to go down. Mm-hmm. And Mare really doesn't understand why. She's like, okay, it's just a speech, you know. Can't be that big of a deal.
Is it?
Like, oh no, it's that big of a deal.
Yeah. And Maven's even like, it's probably just, you know, King Daddy giving a speech.
King Daddy.
You know, let the masses know that everything's okay.
Yeah, so they're taken into this building next to the barracks, which is basically a building full of command centers.
Yeah.
But it looks
kind of what it seemed like to me.
An entire building of smaller command center rooms.
Yeah.
It's very odd.
Yeah. And so then they go into the main command center room where there's so much electricity and cameras and everything, it like literally makes Mare sick to her stomach. Yeah. She flinches.
She does.
We have a flinch
There's
here.
Some flinching in this chapter.
As somebody puts something into her hands.
The press secretary,
a piece of paper.
What she said.
Yeah. So George Stephanopoulos comes up and hands her a piece of paper. She looks at it and pretty much wants to vomit on the floor and rip it into shreds. She is not happy.
Which, I mean, is the reaction I would have had if I was staring down at what she was.
Well, then she hears Alara in her head.
Yeah.
Telling her to earn her keep.
And Maven's like, you must. Mare, you must.
You gotta do it.
So, Victoria Aveyard, queen of the cliffhangers, doesn't give us what Mare has to say right away. Mm-hmm. We get some marshmallow fluff from the king first. Some of the most pointless words.
What's just a rah-rah speech?
Yeah, it is. It is. Maven says...
I like the queen of cliffhangers.
It's basically like, we are the best and Scarlet Guard are poopy pants. Like,
Maven says, people love nothing more than a leader promising victory. That doesn't matter whether or not he can deliver on that promise. They just want to hear the promise being made.
Yep.
My heart grieves for the lives lost, but know that they were not lost in vain. Their blood will fuel our resolve and drive us to overcome the difficulties ahead. We are a nation at war. We have been for nearly a century, and we are not unaccustomed to obstacles in the path to victory. These people will be found. These people will be punished, and this disease they call rebellion will never take hold in my country.
So you can see how that's like, all the Silvers really like that. That's exactly what they want to hear, even if it's not true.
Yes. Not a word of it.
that's what people who think they're better than you always want to hear.
Yeah, that's true. So then we flash to Mare in her new quarters, and she has a broadcast screen in her room, and we see her rewatching the broadcast that she had to make right after the king made his speech.
Yeah.
And they're called the measures.
Yeah. So we're not going to read exactly word for word what they are, but we'll get the general.
Did you get
point
that
across.
the first paragraph where she doesn't actually talk about the measures, but talks about how the silvers are invincible? Or did you write any of that part down?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
You have the whole thing?
Because
I have the whole thing.
Because really.
I don't think the whole thing is necessary, but
We can go through the whole thing if you want and break it down piece by piece, because there's things I want to talk about that first paragraph too, because it's such a setup.
I kind of want to read the first sentence. I don't know why. That first sentence is just like, that's where all of the like, is.
Well, okay.
For me.
So
The majority of it is like right there.
Read as much as you want to,
Okay.
and we'll go from there.
Okay.
I was raised by Reds. I believed I was one. And I saw firsthand the grace of His Majesty the King, and the just ways of our silver lords, and the great privilege they gave us. This speech, the first paragraph, reminds me of the victory speeches that Cadmus and Peta had to give when they were on the victory tour.
Oh, for sure.
Like, they don't want to be saying this.
No.
But
I'm going to read this is just my notes for the first paragraph. That first paragraph basically is, first thing Mare does, kiss mad silver butt, make them look good, silvers are invincible and merciful, Scarlet Guard are terrorists. That's what I got out of the first paragraph, because that's what they wanted to get across. 100% is this person that I know there were some people that were kind of maybe rooting for her for certain reasons because she was a nobody or whatever. She's straight up saying silvers are the best. They can't be beat. Can't fight with them. So before she even gets into the rest.
yeah. So here comes the worst part of this speech.
Yeah. After the great privilege, she says the right to work, to serve our country, to live and live well.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, because they were all doing so great
Mhm.
before. Now I know I am Silverborn, a lady of House Titanos, and one day a princess of Norda. My eyes have been opened. A world I never dreamed of exists, and it is invincible.
Sure.
Mm-hmm. It is merciful.
Sure.
Okay. And these terrorists, murderers of the most evil kind, are trying to destroy the bedrock of our nation. This we cannot allow.
Ugh.
Oh, it gets better.
No, it doesn't. It gets worse.
In his wisdom, King Tiberius has drafted the measures to root out the sickness of rebellion and protect the good citizens of our nation. They are as follows.
No.
We gotta do it. We gotta do it.
Before we get into that.
We'll break them down one by one.
Before we get into that, I just want to talk about how good of a liar Mare has become. Because she said all that with a perfectly straight face.
Oh, yeah.
Like, she did incredibly well.
Oh, yeah. Well, she knows, she's been preparing herself for whatever role this was that she was going to have to play. And here it is. This is it. This is exactly why she's still alive. This is what they're keeping her around for. And she knows if she drops this ball, that's it.
Yeah.
This is the first time she has to hold her cover in front of all of Norda.
Everybody. Yeah.
It's the first time she's had to put on this level of performance. And then for these to have to be the words that come out of her mouth, for her to have to hold that composure.
So we'll go one by one and talk about them here.
Yeah. As of today, a sunset curfew is in effect for all Reds.
So, sunset.
Can't be out if you're a Red.
Yeah.
After dark. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Got to be in by sunset.
That rule gets a little bit worse later.
Yeah. Security will be doubled in every red village and town.
Not that big of a deal.
Not that big of a deal. Kind of reminds me of when they brought in all the extra peacekeepers.
Yeah.
New outposts will be built on the roads and manned to full capacity. So travel between all of the cities and towns will be much more
You're going to get harassed.
monitored.
Yeah.
You're going to be stopped. You have to show your ID card or present your blood tag or whatever.
This is when the curfew rule gets a little bit worse.
All red crimes, including breaking of the curfew, will be punished by execution.
So,
stealing, any kind of crime,
anything, including breaking the curfew.
you're going to get killed.
Yeah.
They're so merciful, though.
Right? All of this mercy. Just look at it.
They have essentially turned Archeon, the capital, into a sundown town.
Yeah.
From back in the Jim Crow days, where there were sundown towns and counties where if you were a black person and you were caught there after their designated time that black people could be there, they strung you up.
Mm-hmm.
So that's exactly what they've done. They've turned Norda into a sundown town for Reds. And Mare says that this next part of the measures is the first time that her voice breaks.
Yeah.
And I don't care who you are, if you're not in tears when you're reading this, you have no soul.
No.
Like, for the readers at home, Mia and I have what we call book throw moments, where we get so mad at the book that we're reading that we have to chuck it across the room.
That we either want to throw it across the room, or we just feel like we need to cry.
Yeah. Usually there is some actual throwing involved with me. If I'm reading the actual book, I mean, I can't throw my audiobook when I'm listening, but if I'm reading an actual book.
I'm proud of myself because I never threw Mockingjay when I was reading it.
I don't know how. I thought you had a throw count of 7.
That was just the times you wanted to throw it. Yeah.
I definitely threw Catching Fire literally across the room several times. Just gonna say, hang on, readers, for when we cover the Hunger Games series. It'll be a while, but we'll get there.
We'll get there eventually.
But anyway, this is when Mare's voice starts to falter for the first time, and she says the conscription age has been lowered to the age of 15.
So, wow.
Yeah, which means, if you read the subtext, on her next birthday, Giza would be conscripted.
Yeah.
Because she doesn't have her job anymore, and she'll be 15.
Yeah. And I think that's one of the reasons that it affected Mare so much, is not only because conscription is terrible and she hates it, and now even younger kids will be conscripted, but also the fact that it affects her family.
Yeah.
Right.
Part of me wondered if they made it 15 for that reason.
It's possible.
Because they knew that she had a little sister.
Instead of just lowering it by 2 years, they specifically lowered it by 3.
3 years, yeah.
Well, 15 seems pretty young to do that. But no, just listen. And there's this line. It's the next one that gets me. The next thing that gets me, because that's why this is there. That's why they lowered it to 15, to get all the parents no.
Right.
No. They're going to take away my kids at 15. That's, you know what I mean? And they're all getting they're all getting, oh my God, you're going to take away my kids now and they can go to war at 15.
So
then they drop the hammer.
I can do the next sentence if you want me to.
Yeah, go ahead.
Anyone who provides information leading to the capture of Scarlet Guard operatives or the prevention of Scarlet Guard actions will be awarded conscription waivers, releasing up to 5 members of the same family from military service.
We're going to make you go to war at 15 unless you give us information on the Scarlet Guard, in which case then we'll give up to 5 members of your family exemption from conscription.
Yeah.
So
Mare's inner monologue calls this a brilliant and terrible maneuver.
It is, because it's outright a threat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that people will literally turn each other in just to save their families.
Right.
Whether or not their neighbors are actually part of the Scarlet Guard. They'll do literally anything to save their kids from conscription, including turning in
Right.
Yeah, Reds
their
will
neighbors.
just tear each other apart for this.
And this does happen. Fear is a great motivator. It's being used throughout history.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, 100%.
So it's a great motivator because people will immediately start trying to protect their family and not look at the long term and the larger goal, which is, why don't we go after the people that are doing this to us?
Right. Mare finishes the measures by saying, the measures are to be upheld at all costs until the disease known as the Scarlet Guard is destroyed. Long live the king.
Oh my god, sorry.
So basically everything bad that she could drop on her people, she just did in her first on-camera nationwide broadcast. She just turned every red in the country against her in one fell swoop. It was perfect planning on the part of the royal family. I mean, 100% perfect planning. Because what is she? You know what I mean? If you really wanted to hammer it home with the people, you would use the queen, or you would use Evangeline, the future queen. But Mare has no status or anything like that. She's just going to be the prince's wife. He's not even in line for a crown, but yet they make her read this.
Yeah, it's
For
specifically
absolute reason.
It's specifically because she was raised as a red.
Yeah. And now she can see the silver world for what it truly is, and how wonderful the silvers are, and how merciful they are to reds. It's insane.
Right.
It's kind of being like, yeah, Reds, we know you're in a crappy situation, but this girl who was raised red says that you're not, so you're not.
And the great thing is, it's like the measures will be in effect until the Scarlet Guard is just completely destroyed. The funny thing about that is, anytime anyone in power takes away your rights like that, they don't ever just give them back.
Right. They'll find a reason for the Scarlet Guard to exist
Right.
forever.
Oh, there's
to keep
this
the
other
measures
thing
in
that's
place.
now a problem. We need to keep the measures in place. We might even have to tighten them.
Yeah.
Right. And also, I find it funny that they think that the Scarlet Guard is only a Norda problem.
Yeah.
Like, do they just assume that the other nations don't have a similar problem?
I guess.
Maybe they just don't know.
I mean,
I don't think they realize maybe how large the Scarlet Guard is at this point. I don't know.
They don't.
We don't.
They killed one of their top diplomats, so they can't, do any kind of speaking with Piedmont on whether or not they're having issues with the Scarlet Guard, because they killed the diplomat.
And they can't talk to the Lakelands because they're kind of at war with them
they're
right
at
now.
war with them, right? So they don't know very much about diplomacy. But Mare is in her room. She's rewatching this broadcast. She sees herself read the measures. And I love this. She gets so mad she shorts out her TV.
If I had electrical abilities like that, I would too. I mean, that would be my reaction.
Yeah, pretty much.
And then,
In all fairness, she said that they had been playing the speech on a loop or whatever so that she could memorize the whole thing. Why did she not turn it off? Why didn't she just turn the TV off before she got so angry?
Have you met Mare?
maybe she could. Maybe it was just on all the time, so she just decided to fry it.
I guess, maybe. It's like the ones in the Hunger Games you can't turn off. The ones in the districts, they come on automatically and they make you watch whatever it is. So, it could be kind of the same thing.
Yeah. So then Mare's staring out the window, and she's staring at the ruined city, which is this not the second time we've heard mention of this ruined city? What is where... No,
the other one was Greytown.
Oh, no. I know they saw Greytown, but I thought that he may even pointed out or she said something about where the ruined city, where you couldn't go because of the radiation.
Maybe.
This isn't the first time that it was mentioned, I don't think.
It will not be the last time it's mentioned either.
Right.
Definitely not.
I'm going to say that. Put that on record.
Mare is looking at the gift that Julian sent her, which was a map in a frame, and as she's picking it up, she hears something drop.
Yep.
Yeah.
Little tiny notebook falls out of the back of the picture frame.
Yeah, it's a book.
Of course Julian would leave her a book.
Exactly.
So she expects it to be like a history book or something like that that's going to teach her about Archeon or the royal family, something that's going to tie into her arriving in Archeon. But that is not what's in this book.
No, it's like handwritten by Julian. In Julian's
Handwritten in code.
Right.
So Mare has to figure out the parts that Julian would say normally and then take those words out. And anyway, this is how it went in my head. She has to put those real sentences together and pull out the extra words that don't belong in the sentence. And that's where she gets the list from. In my head. I don't know how you guys thought about it when you read it.
There was she saw something before the list even.
Yeah, so first she flipped open the cover to the first page or whatever, and handwritten there was, in Julian's handwriting, was red and silver. Just those 3 words. Yeah, it says hidden among the words in the same type is a secret worth telling.
Yeah.
So there are like normal words, and then hidden in them in the exact same print is actually what he wanted to tell her, which is brilliant.
Right. And the first thing is the people that were, air quotes, executed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's a
on
list
the front line
for the last 20 years or so, maybe a little more, I think, of all of these people that were part of what they call the Storm Legion. So they were all members of the same battalion in the war. And they were all executed, and either their bodies were lost or were cremated.
Which didn't happen.
Yeah, which Mare knows from her lessons that is not how bodies were handled.
Of the executed, especially if they were executed for.
Yeah, it specifically said cremation is not common. Misplaced bodies are non-existent.
They're buried like in mass graves.
So this shouldn't happen. This list of people shouldn't be at least as long as it is.
Yeah.
So there's 27.
There's 27 names on the list. Yeah.
So Julian does a handy-dandy, I guess uses their blood base, which I guess has like all the information on the blood of all Reds, so they can look it up. What does he find out?
That these are just 27 who died. There are dozens more in the blood base that have a mutation in their blood.
A marker.
Yeah, where their blood is basically both red and silver.
Yeah.
But combined together, it makes something more than the other two. So they're not red. They're not silver.
Yeah.
They're a new kind of blood.
Yeah, and he uses the phrase red and silver and stronger than both.
Yeah. Oh, but we skipped over on the list.
Yeah.
The 27 executed,
the 27th name.
Because that's what she sees first is the 27 that were executed, and the 27th name was...
It's Shade.
Her brother.
Yeah.
So he also had an ability.
He had the same...
Knew.
Yeah. Well, I guess they don't know...
What abilities he would have had.
Specifically.
Right.
It could be different.
Because these Reds seem to be odd, because neither of her parents had an ability.
Exactly. So it's not genetic. Like, it can be, but it's not necessarily genetic.
Right.
Like, you don't have to get it from your parents, because
Correct.
it's obviously a new thing.
Right. Now we have this list of 27 soldiers that were executed, that their bodies went missing, that all had this, or also had abilities, which raises the question, were they executed because they had abilities?
Yeah, because they were either like...
Silvers can't have that.
They were either like,
Right.
they either like died strangely, or they were executed for charges without any actual base.
Yeah.
Correct.
And their
So-
bodies are not where they're supposed to be or have
Exactly.
been destroyed. So they can't go back and retrieve
Right.
their bodies to do any other kind of testing or anything.
Fascinating.
Exactly.
But the big kicker is there's a list of living, dozens
Yeah,
of
a
living
lot.
Reds with abilities, and their names, and Mare has them.
Yep.
And Julian tells her, be careful,
Yeah. He
be safe.
said, basically we always told you, or I always told you, and Maven did, kind of under the same umbrella, that you weren't alone, and she's not. There's all these other people that have the same ability or the same blood marker, but she was the first one that was protected by the eyes of thousands. She was the first one whose ability was discovered in front of all these people that they couldn't murder her for.
They couldn't just kill her and cover it up.
They couldn't make it
somebody
go away.
On this list of 27 names hulked out and threw an ability at somebody when they weren't expecting it because they got angry or whatever, and they were killed on the spot and everything was hidden. You know, I guarantee you there's at least one of those, which is exactly what would have happened to Mare had she not fallen into the Queenstrial.
Right, had it not been in front of literally all the high houses.
Yeah, because they couldn't just make her disappear anymore. They're like, wait, that's a red servant. Where did that power come from?
Yeah.
So they had to turn her into a silver.
So Julian reminds her that this list is very important and that it obviously can't fall into the wrong hands, because if somebody gets a hold of it, then they'll be hunting for these people for the wrong reason.
Oh, yes.
Right.
But Mare needs to go find them because they're the future. This is the answer on how things are going to be solved, is this new discovery of a species, basically, this brand new kind of superhuman species amongst their kind.
So who does Mare go to? The son of the person that can read minds! It's like, Maven, at this point there's no reason to suspect him, but why would you go to him and not think, should I really tell him everything because Alara?
Yeah.
Like
Maven kind of needs some plausible deniability in some of these situations.
Right.
But I don't think, in Mare's defense, I don't think she's thinking about that at this point in time. I think it's just one of those deals like, you know, when you find out something and you don't want to keep it to yourself, you just have to tell somebody just so you can say it out loud or get it off your chest or whatever. And there's nobody else there that she trusts. You know, Maven is the only person there that makes her feel any sort of comfort at all, because Lucas is gone, Julian is gone. She's basically there alone in the palace, except for Maven.
Right, and he's met with the Scarlet Guard with her. He's the one that gave them the targets.
Yeah,
right.
The
to help them
targets.
set up the assassination. It did go off. I mean, they got captured on the way out, but that really had nothing to do with Maven.
Yeah.
So she sets off to find Maven to show him the book, but she runs into Cal first.
Yep. So Swole Cal finds her first.
Yeah. He waltzes up to her, all being buff and ripped and stuff. I imagine he's got 15-pound dumbbells and he's just doing arm curls as
all
he's
the time?
walking. Yeah, it just, listeners can't see, but Mia and I are making
we're doing the gesture.
arm curl
Or,
motions.
yeah.
He just walks around
Constantly.
working on his swollenness all day. But
Does he
this
skip
is
leg day?
never. We already established that. This part is where you have to kind of think for a minute that a woman wrote this book, because a man realizes that a woman is mad at him, and that never happens.
No.
And I think he even realizes why she's mad at him. Like, oh, she's mad at me, and I know exactly why. Never happens. I'm just teasing.
It's rare.
But it reminds me, it's like he's looking at her, he's like, you mad, babe? Baby, mad?
Why?
Which is funny, because it's like, why are you mad at me? It's like, really, you tortured Farley right in front of her, you jerk.
For real. You knew that, I had dealings with these people, yet you did what you did right in front of me.
Right. He's all like, but we kissed the other day. What's all this about?
Well, first, Mare tries to use the excuse, well, I'm betrothed to your brother. And Cal's like, well,
is.
Shut up. That never stopped you before.
Yeah,
so
3
what's
days
really
ago
wrong?
you were also betrothed to my brother. So what's the real reason? What's different? And she wants to scream in his face that now she's seen who he actually is.
Right.
She thought he was this caring, kind person that did all these wonderful things for her. and he's really just an animal that wants to go hunting for her kind.
Right. First he's basically like, is this about the terrorist? And that really just sets her off.
Oh, yeah.
She's like, excuse me? Rebels?
Yeah. She is not happy with them throwing that terrorist word around.
And then Cal's like, but they've murdered people.
Not just people, children, innocent people.
Yeah.
You know, there were other people that were caught in the crossfire than just these, you know, political targets that they were going for.
Then Mare's all like, well, you know that wasn't their fault. Talking about, like, the bomb.
The bomb, yeah,
quote,
the explosion.
unquote bomb.
And he says, but they still caused it. It doesn't matter. They still caused it. I had the Sentinels torture them to try to figure out what this is and stop it before it gets to be a problem. So basically, he is just trying to fight his side that they forced his hand. That's what he had to do. You know, he didn't want to order the torture. He had to order the torture. You know, just the typical Nazis just following orders excuse.
Right. In all fairness, couldn't he have just been like, "Hey, Dad, you want to do it? Like, you're the king. This is your job."
Yeah, I mean, you'd think. And he tries to say like, "Well, I know that you sympathize with them," and she just fires on him. I mean, she lets him have it. She's like, their methods are your own fault. You make us work. You make us bleed. You make us die for your wars and factories and the little comforts you don't even notice, all because we're different. How can you expect us to let that stand?
So she's making some good points.
Yeah, like right to his face, just spouting it off.
Right.
She says, the only reason I'm not dead in a trench somewhere is because you pitied me. The only reason you're even listening to me now is because by some insane miracle, I happen to be another kind of different.
Right.
So she's kind of coming into her own in this conversation. Mm-hmm. She's like, you know, I saw what a terrible person you were. This situation happened. You responded to it in exactly the wrong way, in her opinion. And now I'm going to call you out on it, basically. And she's really standing her ground with Cal here. She is mad.
Yeah. Like, can you just imagine what Mare's life would have been like if she hadn't gotten that servant job? If she had just, like, been conscripted?
I mean, we wouldn't have this podcast. So there's that.
There wouldn't be a book series.
There wouldn't be a book series. Victoria Aveyard wouldn't be taking vacations to Mexico. But she reminds him again, Mare tells Cal again, you're going to be king. You have the ability to stop this.
Right. You have the
You
power
don't like it? Shut it down.
Yeah.
You know.
And I'm going to quote Cal here. He says, but I don't want to.
You don't wanna.
He keeps saying the cost is too great.
I don't want to stop
You
rebellion.
realize how many lives it would cost? Millions. I mean, as opposed to like the how many millions upon millions of Reds that have died on the front in the last century?
Yeah.
Dying.
He talks about, you know, saving his father's legacy and this country that they've built over these last few years. And he's basically like, would you trade 1 million deaths for that? And again, she wants to scream in his face.
Can I read Mare's actual response? What she actually says to Cal?
Yeah, go ahead.
This is great.
Oh, he mutters, by the way.
He does.
So we get a mutter count in there.
So Mare says, the guard won't stop. And while they are certainly to blame, you are as well. There's blood on your hands, Prince. Oh.
Now, in her inner monologue, she says it's on her and Maven's too.
Exactly.
But she doesn't say that out loud. She calls Cal out for having the blood on his hands.
Like, this is kind of their fault, but it's also yours.
Yeah. So she mic drops Cal.
Mm-hmm.
After that, she drops that truth bomb on him, and she starts to walk away.
And then
Cal
says
says
something about Julian.
Yeah, the one thing that he knows will make her turn around and pay attention to him.
Yeah, but it made us turn right back around.
That's right. There's one. He says, so Julian's disappeared, huh? Basically. Like, Oh, so what's up with that?
Yeah, he's just not here. He never came to Archeon with us. He left Somerton and didn't get to Archeon.
She tries to play all dumb, like, oh, did he? Did he leave?
Disappeared?
Yeah.
What?
I don't know what you're talking about.
I do not know what you are talking about.
My dumb blonde girl. You like it?
And, yeah, it's pretty good. You're not that dumb, though, so thank God.
That dumb? Way to go, Mom.
No, she's not like Valley Girl dumb is what
Backhanded compliment.
So what kind of dumb is she?
She's not dumb at all. She can't. You're so
Welcome to the Rockefeller family, everybody.
What, you didn't like the other show?
You're so... Yes, that's exactly right. You're so not dumb you can't even do a dumb accent.
What?
That's how that was supposed to come
I
out.
gotcha. Anyway.
But Cal lets Mare know that he knows about the holes in the memories and the holes in the security cameras, and that she and Julian were definitely behind this.
Yeah.
And
he knows the signs
Yeah.
of Julian's ability.
Yeah, he says he doesn't use it often, but when he does, it's pretty recognizable that this is Julian's handiwork.
Yeah.
And so he let him escape.
Exactly.
He gave Julian enough room to where he could sneak out of the castle.
Well, his uncle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
but
Cal literally let Julian get away.
Get away, yeah. But he tells Mare, kind of in no uncertain terms, that Alara won't stop until she finds him. She's basically just given him a head start. He's going to be on the run now. And if she finds him, she will execute him.
Yeah.
And that there's nothing really he can do about it. And this really heats Mare up.
Yeah.
Because she's like, he's your uncle.
Exactly.
You know, and Cal is kind of trying to make her see in this moment, that doesn't matter. You know, Alara wants him dead. Alara will have him dead.
Also,
there's nothing Cal can do to stop that.
Mare kind of thinks to herself, she's like, if he'll kill Julian, even after letting him go, what will he do to me when they match my blood in the blood base to what they found in the cell?
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
and she'll be found out. Yeah, if he'll kill his own uncle,
even after letting him go.
Me. Yeah.
Yeah. But there's more.
Cal tells her that Maven had an idea.
Yeah, Maven had a handy little idea.
Which makes Mare happy because Maven is much smarter than Cal. So if Maven had an idea, then it was probably better than anything that Cal can come up with.
Yeah.
But now that she has been exposed on TV, and her face has been shown, her name has been announced, that it would make it easier for Marina Titanos to exist if Mare Barrow never existed. So they went through all of the records and they removed any trace of Mare having ever existed.
Yep.
So her
school record, her birth certificate, her blood prints, and her ID card.
Which means they can no longer match the blood.
Exactly. She's completely wiped from the blood base.
But you don't think it's going to be interesting to Cal, at least, who helped with this and knows that she was removed, if the blood that pops up can't be traced to anybody?
Again, they could just think maybe some of these people are from out of Norda.
Correct. Yeah.
Possibly.
Or, maybe not born in hospitals or something like that.
Interesting.
Somehow a birth made it under the radar.
Yeah.
But that means her criminal record, all of that stuff that they were holding over her,
right? They also
now
don't
gone.
Really have their
so they lost their leverage, and now they're banking 100% on Mare being their asset. They don't.
Did they lose their leverage though? Because they still have her family. They could.
That's
true. They threatened multiple times. I mean.
Yeah, that's still true.
But
they can't expose her without also exposing their corruption.
Yeah, and they can't use her criminal record anymore.
Yeah, they can't use any of that stuff against her because it's all gone now.
Right.
So before we get to the last part, before we wrap up the chapter, the discussion I wanted to have with you guys.
Yeah.
Do you think, and Mia, you've read Broken Throne,
I
so
have.
I don't know if any of this is covered in Broken Throne. But where is our star-crossed love story where a red falls in love with a silver? You know what I mean? And like they have to run away. They can't live in this society
The, like,
or whatever.
Romeo and
yeah, the
Juliet type
Romeo and
situation.
Juliet of a red and silver. And then what are their kids like? Sensibilities are passed down through the father.
Usually.
If you have a red father and a silver mother, say, is that kid going to have abilities? Are they going to be some sort of rare species that we've never seen before? Like, what do you guys think about that?
That brings up another question. What about a red with abilities and either a silver or a normal red without abilities? Like how we run into the same problem.
Yeah, and one of the, what we'll come to know as new bloods.
Yeah.
So what do you guys think? What do you think would happen if there was some crossbreeding?
I think it kind of...
Okay, go ahead.
I think it kind of, like, it depends on, obviously, if the one with abilities is the mother or the father, because that's, like, that plays a part in it. But it also depends on what ability, I feel like. Like, some of them may be stronger and may pass easier.
Yeah, that's a valid point. I mean, would a normal red's blood with the silver almost taint it so that it weakens the ability, or would it be a unique new type of creation?
And also, I'm going to go ahead and say there was one in the line of the throne of Norda, like the line of succession. There was one queen that ruled without marrying the crown prince. There was a Kalor daughter she was a burner, so she could rule without needing to marry the crown prince. And when she had a son, her son had his father's ability. So he couldn't take the throne because he didn't get the burner ability.
That's interesting.
There's a certain ability. You have to have a certain ability to take the throne.
Yeah, you have to be a burner to take the throne in Norda.
That kind of limits it. That's kind of like the way of saying, my family's always going to keep the throne.
I'm looking at you, Windsors.
So, but it's also like,
I mean, up until now, I thought the silvers were so fair.
Oh yeah, because they've been super fair about everything up until now.
And literally, if you are a Kalor and you're not a burner, you're like exiled. It goes that far.
Yeah.
He couldn't just not take the throne. He couldn't be a part of the family.
Right.
I gotta feel like it's happened at least once, if not thousands of times over the centuries or so, or century, how long it's been since what do they call it,
the Great War, or
the
whatever.
First Divide,
the New Era,
the First Divide, or whenever they first
The First Divide, I think, is what
separated.
What actually, when like red and silver weren't just colors of blood anymore.
Right.
It was like when the actual hierarchy started to
But
shift.
You got to think, with red servants running around and silvers, you know there have been affairs and babies had,
100%,
and all kinds of things going on.
So I kind of wonder if that's where this is coming from.
But are we going to find out that Mare and Shade weren't really? They were like dropped off at their house, and they weren't really born to their mother and father. In that sense,
they would both have to be not their.
Not necessarily. It could be like a dormant gene from somebody back in their family.
That's true.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it could be
that's a possibility.
It's
taken like a couple of generations.
Like a grandparent or something.
It's taken generations for the.
That's how Muggleborns happened in Harry Potter.
Yeah,
they have there's a wizard somewhere up in
the family tree,
it's dormant, and it just
Right.
It was dormant for generations and then came
It
to
could be
them.
that's happened for a while, and this is why it's the generations down the line of the children that the mutation or whatever the blood finally has evolved to where it affects
Right.
the children.
Yeah.
So.
But in this, we don't know what any of these abilities are. Julian doesn't know what any of these people's abilities are or anything like that. So we don't know if they're combination abilities, kind of like they think Mare's might be, or whatever. So that's still all stuff that we get to explore in the future parts of the books.
Or if they're almost like they're like counterparts to silver abilities, but slightly different.
Like where you could see the merger of two.
Right.
Mare's really is, though. I mean,
pretty much.
She can manipulate electricity, but she can create it.
Right.
Yeah.
So she's stronger.
And that's where the special part comes from, because there's no silver that can create whatever element they're working with.
They can manipulate earth or fire or
what's already there. But our cliffhanger paragraph for this chapter, after Cal tells Mare that her record has been erased, basically, that Mare Barrow no longer exists, she says, "But my act can only last so long. After one stiff bow in Cal's direction, I hurry from the room, hiding my wild grin."
So she's like, yes, I am free for the next week.
Right.
Maybe.
At least she can relax for a little bit.
I have about 3 hours of relaxation before I get into more trouble. Up top.
Real girls on film going, wee!
Woo! So bummer chapter.
She's still mad at Cal.
But it ends on kind of a high note with Mare not having to worry about
I feel like we made it fun.
that pesky record following her around. Yeah, we made it as fun as we can, I guess. I'll take that.
It's a rough chapter.
It's a really rough chapter.
This chapter and the next two, which are probably going to wind up being their own episodes, they're all rough. Like there's three or four rough chapters in a row.
A lot of rough coming.
Yeah. Basically, from like 23 on, it's just rough. 23
to the end of the last book.
There's some happy points in Glass Sword. It's not all bleak.
No.
Entirely.
Just most of it.
Not entirely.
Yeah, so are you guys ready for Fan Art Corner?
Yes.
Fan Art Corner this week is fun because I was able to find this artist, and the caption for this picture it's a throwback to the first fan art they ever did about Red Queen. And then the question says, should I try more fan art? Probably not. And then this gets picked for our Fan Art Corner of the week because I think it's an awesome picture. So this comes from Mare _de _Inverno. So that's MAR_DE_INVERNO. And this is her illustration of Cal and Mare in battle.
Actually, that's really good.
So,
that is really good.
Yeah.
I dig that. And I'm loving how every single Maven we're seeing drawn looks almost exactly like Timothy Chalamet.
This is Cal.
Is it?
That's not Cal.
It is
That's
Cal.
Maven.
It's red eyes.
That's
See the red
Maven.
eyes?
That's not Cal.
Cal.
That's not near swole enough for Cal.
Skin almost looks too pale.
So that would be our only criticism is to
it's a great
Cal a little bit.
It's a great picture either way.
But yeah, that's how I knew it was Cal because of the red eyes.
eyes.
Otherwise, I would think that it would be Maven. But yeah, this one has red eyes, so it's Cal. But yeah, check out Instagram.
I should have known that.
Mare _de_Inverno. And I will have this on our Instagram. It'll be
It's a cool drawing.
Yeah, it's an awesome drawing. It'll be on our Instagram. It'll be on our website, which is www.readingwiththerockefellers.com. We have our fan art corner there. We have all of our beautiful faces. Up now this week, you asked for it. You got it. There are adorable pictures of Meredith and Olivia our rats. If you heard stealthily in the background, Olivia was getting some exercise on the wheel at the beginning of the episode.
Olivia was also getting swole.
Yeah, she was back there working on her swolitude. Our Instagram, we're always hanging out on there, looking for fan art suggestions and dream casting suggestions for the upcoming Peacock series. That is at Reading with the Rockefellers. So hop over, check us out there. You can get all of these podcasts available in video form. Mia does a great job putting together really cool videos for us. Our fan art is always featured on the video.
Thank you for shouting that out because I need validation.
Yes, she does a great job. The fan art's always available on the video with all the artist credits and where to find them on Instagram. So our YouTube channel is also Reading with the Rockefellers. You can shoot us a straight old email. We love fan art suggestions that way and Dreamcast suggestions that way. It's readingwiththerockefellers@gmail.com. And occasionally we pop up on Twitter, not very often because I don't like Twitter, but it's at Rockefeller Read. So sometimes we pop up there. And I think, do we cover all the socials?
I think that's it.
We get everything? We got fan art for this week.
YouTube.
So, YouTube, yeah. Sorry this week is such a bummer, guys. It's kind of a downer
we made
episode,
some jokes.
But
It works.
each episode from here on out until the end of the book is going to be its own chapter, and
Probably.
might have one chapter that becomes 2 episodes. We'll see, because some stuff is going to really pop off now that Mare's back in Archeon.
Yeah, lots to happen in the last few chapters of this book.
Yeah.
A lot.
So until next week, you guys stay awesome, and we will talk to you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.